Tony D'Angelo.
All right, always fun talking to Tony D'Angelo each and every Tuesday. He brings a little sanity and clarity into some areas that are very, very confusing. And again, you can follow him on Twitter, Tony D'Angelo7. Tony, good morning, pal. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everybody. Proud to be among you.
So when I say you're going to bring clarity to areas that are very uncertain and unclear, that starts for me with digital currency and digital currency groups and stuff.
It's like, thank you for the kind compliment. Today I'm dealing, just going through this stuff with my aching head and my growling stomach. Last week we talked about Semaphore and the scams and the charades with that. And today we're going to talk a little bit. We've got a lot of material to cover on Digital Currency Group, another great DECD Lamont deal, which is supposed to be good for us all. Now, we're talking off the air, and we're really at the point right now, Lee Elci, where we're getting lied to so much, it's not even funny anymore. It's just blatant and insulting. And there is an article in the Hearst papers on January 22nd, I guess that was on Sunday, and the headline was, Crypto Conglomerate Digital Currency Group to Shut Down a Connecticut Business. And the article, the person writing the article, his name is Paul Schott. What he should have done was taken the backside of the article, and that was your lead, but he wrote everything down, and he was doing it to trying to conceal what's really taking place. And in this article, I am to read that this wealth management division, which is kind of inconsequential, called HQ, is being shut down. We're told in the article that the company has received no state aid, nothing has been paid over, nothing changes in this happy ha-ha job creation thing of the 300 jobs descending upon my hometown of Stamford, Connecticut, and there's no mention whatsoever of the Lamont Oak HCFT involvement, and this is, that never happened. Now, unfortunately, none of that is true. We've gone over on this show to get to the $5.5 million of aid. All Digital Currency Group, I may refer to them as DCG, all they got to do is retain 25 jobs for 2 years, and we have a document to that effect. I may produce that again this morning. And there's additional assistance via an assistance agreement. They're very slimy the way they do these things. And it's like, well, this is the stated aid, but we're not limited to what we're going to give you with the stated aid. And you ask for what the other stuff is, and it's like, well, that's being negotiated and it's proprietary, and, we don't need to tell you that. And then the way they do this thing, it is the ultimate sham transaction. You have the 25 jobs over 2 years, but we're going to give you the money to pay for these 25 jobs over 2 years. I mean, it's, my dog Cody could do this, for crying out loud. And another thing is that they do not tell you. This is the whole Annie's going to Nashville. How dare you persecute me with this? But the Oak, according to Crunchbase, the Oak HCFT contingent has spearheaded $53 million worth of investment into DCG since the beginning of November, starting right after the election. And you really have to laugh. I mean, it's to the point now where Hearst went to DCG and said, well, what's the job target like? How many people are working in DCG? And DCG couldn't give them a figure. Like, how many people were? We don't know. We have no idea. It is. I mean, I've seen 8th grade scams that are better. Now, what Hearst tried to do, but failed in, was to bury the lead. And the lead in this article, and the lead factually, is that I predicted a few weeks ago, last time we talked about that DCG, another 4-star Department of Economic and Community Development project, was going to go bankrupt, largely as the result of not really good accounting controls and Samuel Bankman-Fried owing the money from the FTX thing. And this was the last paragraph. And how this is coming about is very interesting. DCG, and here I have to go slowly, it's a little bit heavy. DCG has a subsidiary known as Genesis Global Capital. Now, Genesis Global Capital had a partnership with an organization, actually, what kind of organization, I'm really not clear on that, known as Gemini Trust Company. Now, Gemini, you might recall, that is the Winklevoss twins. Those were the twins in Facebook who claimed that when they were at Harvard, Zuckerberg aced them out of it, and they were the rowers, and they're two good, really good-looking young guys. And they set up, Genesis and Gemini set up a joint venture, and this joint venture was known as the lending program. And in this lending program, they went to people, they went to school teachers, they went to, servers in restaurants, policemen, folks like me, small business people, says, look, give us your cryptocurrency and we're going to pay you interest. And, we're going to have like a, little bit of a banking thing there. We're going to give you this security. Now, when Samuel Bankman-Fried exploded, when that whole thing went, and of course, everybody had the shorts from that. The people, the investors in this deal were kind of watching and saying, well, what about my money? And they went to Digital Currency Group and said, hey, it's a wonderful life, a run on the bank. Give us back what we gave you. We don't want to be around for what's about to take place. But Digital Currency Group put their hand up and said, no, you cannot withdraw your money. You cannot take your money out. And what happened from there was, if you follow the timeline, which is very curious to me, on Crunchbase, the Lamont investments, November 8th, November 17th, all of 2022, November 18th, and December 1st. The stopping of the withdrawals happened on November 30th. Now, on December 1st, OKCFT makes a sizable investment, like $25 million, there might have been other players involved in it, into Digital Currency Group for a corporate endeavor. Now, even our SEC, with all its problems, kind of put up their hands and say, hey, wait a minute. Something is terribly wrong here, because what you're doing, people, with this currency and this, give me your currency and I'll give you interest and all that, is you're running a bank. You're running a securities operation, and you're not licensed to do that. You're breaking the law. And it's when you go to the press release, I read the case and I read the press release from the Southern District of New York, where, and it's a great heading, SEC charges Genesis and Gemini for the unregistered offer and sale of crypto asset securities through the Gemini Earn lending program. That is the name. The last paragraph, of course, you don't get any of this when you do anything with local news. Through this unregistered offering, Genesis and Gemini's raised billions of dollars worth of crypto assets from hundreds of thousands of investors, investigations into other securities law violations, and into, this part you got to pay attention to, other entities and persons related to the alleged misconduct are ongoing. So I'm sitting here saying, maybe this is the crack in the concrete we're looking for. Maybe somebody will put up their arm and say, hey, wait a minute. I tried to get my money out of this thing. I couldn't, but yet the higher echelon in this thing was making sizable investments a day after you told me that I couldn't get my money out. I mean, this thing stinks to high heaven. It is absolutely unbelievable, and I'm so angry about it.
So, do us this favor, and we've asked you this way before, so we can break it down into a 30-second sort of soundbite. What you just explained to everybody in great detail, break it down in a 30-second soundbite so folks can digest that again.
Okay, here we go. Governor's investment in Oak HCFT on December 1st, 2022, Governor's family investment, just to be more clear, happens one day after Digital Currency Group halts investors getting their money out from a related entity. So they needed the money to make the investment, and they stopped the depositors from getting their money back. Lee Elci, this thing stinks to high heaven.
So
January 24th, 2023, 7:17 a.m.
So what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on that one. But so what is in the long game? What do the Lamonts get out of this?
Well, that's a very good question, because if you follow the timeline up, I guess Samuel Bankman-Fried started to say, I'm bankrupt about November 12th. And where you look at the chart from Crunchbase that I made up, November 17th, November 18th, they start buying in. They've got some pretty large investments of $4.2 million, $4.2 million. And then, the crowning glory, December 1st, 2022 of $25 million. I think they were looking to, kind of bottom fish at that point. And then when the contagion hit to such a degree that they really didn't think that, everybody would be rushing in to buy their crypto, they started to say, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to allow the withdrawals here. I mean, right. It's heavy. I mean, it's really, really heavy. And where I get very angry is that when we have an organization in the state known as the Department of Economic and Community Development, and they're lending money, they're doing these deals, and we have no oversight. We have no idea of what's taking place. I mean, forget our standard media covering it. I mean, our political system, please, nothing really happens. And where it is so anger-producing, I should say, to me, is that you have this, these people who are in government who are supposed to be the overseers of all people, like somebody was saying to me this week, and they're absolutely right. Well, Ned Lamont will profit from this deal, assuming it goes right. But yet, if he doesn't profit, the state has propped up this digital currency group. Now, you have restaurants and you have small businesses that are closing left and right, and people poured their heart and their soul into these things. And you think like a little bit of a loan there to get them started, to get them operating. No, let's kill them. Let's kill the working person. Let's just have elitist economics, and nobody's really going to care. And this is where I flipped out during the campaign when the Republican Party was talking about, well, we want to do things with the DECD. This is an organization, let's be clear, Lee Elci, who is now getting involved in lending money to an organization who was involved in banking and securities fraud. I mean, I can't make it any clearer than that. And you know something? This can happen tomorrow. This can happen next week. We have no oversight. We have no clue. We're not told.
Tony D'Angelo.
It's amazing to me.
Tony D'Angelo. You can follow him on Twitter again, Tony D'Angelo7, always bringing new and different perspectives on some of the stuff that nobody else seems to be paying a lot of attention to. So we thank God for Tony doing the due diligence, getting that information out. And speaking of insanity, TikTok and government employees, give me your take on this. I'm going to
try to laugh here, but unfortunately, it's not funny. If you've been following some of the stuff that you've been seeing on the media, some of the better stuff, some of the not better stuff, a number of governors have banned TikTok from government devices. And it started out go back to Donald Trump when he wanted to do it by an executive order and they wouldn't let him do it. Now, fast forward as we go, we talked about all the security issues with TikTok. And it started to get to the point where it was getting absolutely, totally ridiculous as to what TikTok was doing with data. And if you want a really good article, look in the Wall Street Journal, January 18th, or why are governors banning TikTok? And it gives you a good idea as to, why this is a severe security risk. And a really good articulation when you look to see what TikTok actually does. Spencer Cox, who's the governor of Utah, talks about, and his whereases in his executive order banning it, Chinese national security allows the Chinese government to compel companies to provide it with data, and ByteDance collects TikTok user data, and ByteDance has acknowledged that its China-based employees have access to user data, and Chinese government controlling data. You can read down that. Wire.com says, TikTok knows, and these are industry sources, everything about you, your IP, your messages, your age, and everything like that. And it got to the point where Democrats started to say, yeah, this is a security issue. Biden did it on government devices. Governor Phil Murphy in New Jersey and did, as far as I'm concerned, a comprehensive ban of 14 types of Chinese software from government devices. It's just everything. And so I started to pebble Ned's windows, like, hey, Ned, what are you going to do? These people, it's no longer partisan here. These people who are in your party are saying, we got to get rid of this thing. Now, Ned, true to form, is not really seeming to do anything for 2 weeks. I shouldn't say anything. I did the Governor Ned Lamont do what Phil Murphy did, TikTok challenge, and remove it from state devices. And however, he did send his leading man Bob Duff into the Senate to write a half-page, half-baked order to say, we're going to do a bill proposal for this. This is something he could do in 5 minutes with an executive order, like he's done with everything else. I just think he's terrified not to tell state workers, hey, you can't have this thing on, or to tell now we're starting to see it in universities. And I mean, it is a very severe threat. Now, think about the data abuses that we've talked about since time immemorial with Connecticut. Boston Consulting Group, AMN Healthcare, Semaphore with the whole genome sequencing and not telling everybody. What is going on now in state computers where there is this major security hole with TikTok, and like Digital Currency Group, they don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to have any idea this is happening. They just, hey, it's perfectly okay and everything's right, and D'Angelo on Twitter will go away in a week or so, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. It is just a total and complete disregard for citizens, and it's just to the point where that we really, if you cared about people, somebody's medical data is out there and somebody's diddling with some TikTok thing, and there it is, the whole thing's in China. It's like, and to top it all off, I don't know if they shut it down, but the Connecticut Senate Democrats had a TikTok channel, if you will, and we're on TikTok and we're great. I think they might have gotten rid of it, but of course, if they did, they didn't tell anybody. It's not looking out for the citizen. This is just government for them, by them. The rest of us can go fly kites at Savin Rock and West Haven. Horrible.
Just to throw my 2 cents in here, I just don't understand why you're a government employee, and I'm assuming that you're given.
What are you doing with it?
Yeah, why do you have TikTok? Why are you not on the pay? You're supposed to be on. You're supposed to be working, right?
Yeah.
Why are we watching TikTok on a government device? Why would that even be an issue if you're the governor and you think that there's a nefarious, underlying of TikTok, which I do, and I think you do as well? I get rid of it. You can't have it. You can't use it. Period.
Does it not proceed to the level of a red herring, which is it shouldn't be there anyway? So ban it and let's be done with it. You won't do what Phil Murphy did. Your brother during COVID, and he got rid of 14 Chinese applications from governments, and you do a little half-page thing. You toss it into the legislative mosh pit, and that's going to deal with it. Well, the legislature didn't deal with it, but I'll deal with anything else with an executive order. It's sad. It's sick. It's just it's no regard for the safety of citizens from government whatsoever.
Tony D'Angelo 7 on Twitter, a must follow. Tony, can't thank you enough. I'll talk to you next week, pal.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
All right, buddy. We'll be right back. Bruce Flax joins me next. Stick around.